Today, I woke up and said, you know what the world needs right now? Watch drama. So, some of you may have heard of a micro brand called Serica. They're out of France. I stumbled across them on a Facebook ad. Yeah, who uses Facebook anymore? When I saw in the ad, they showed their 5303 diver. It was one of the most beautiful divers I'd ever seen, and I clicked into it. I was curious. I wasn't really in the market for a watch at that time, but I was sadly disappointed when the price showed up for over $1,000. You may have noticed in my watch collection, I don't really have anything worth more than $500. So, I was out. A few days later, I was perusing through AliExpress as, the lower end of the spectrum of watch buyers do. And I stumbled across this. AliExpress has a version of the Serica 5303 diver, and it was a near perfect copy. This was surprising because Serica is a smaller brand and I had never seen a watch get copied so quickly, but that's just a testament to how beautiful this watch is. But there was a noticeable difference in the design in that it had a date, which for me is a plus. I always like having a date on a watch. I'm not one of those, I need the balance of a watch over functionality. I always want to know the date. That's probably something I forget the most next to the time itself. So I was happy to see that. And happier still when the watch cost about $1,000 less. I had some suspicions about the watch. It looked great, but so does everything in their own ads. I was also suspicious because I'd never heard of the brand that produced the watch. I thought it was iPose at the time, but there's a weird story about how that's some organization, but the brand was actually XDAO or XandDAO or 9DAO, IXDAO, IXandDAO. I don't know. Either way, never heard of it before. And I couldn't see any reviews on it as well, so I didn't buy it. Now let's get into a little of the drama portion. Serica had made a beautiful watch, and that almost seems to be a universally accepted opinion. That's really awesome when you can do that as a micro brand. So Serica was probably really proud and excited about that. But when reviews started coming out, that hype bubble, it popped. A beautiful design can only get you so far. As reviewers started reviewing, a persistent problem pervasively persuaded people to keep their pounds and pennies in their purses. That took more than one take. But I want you to think it only took one take. Serica had placed a new brand of movement inside of this watch. It was a Newton or something. It just didn't work right. I've heard of people trying to set the time, and the hands did not lock onto the crown, so you'd turn the crown, the hands wouldn't turn. That's one of the most basic functions of a watch. No watch is perfect, but for every dollar you add on to the price of a watch, there should be at least, $1 more of expectation. Some reviewers shared conversations that they've had with Serica, and Serica started to get a defensive tone about this, saying that there was really nothing wrong with the movement, that it was a feature, it's supposed to be like this. And then they said, also, we'll fix it for you. And while Serica was in a state of recovery, the Fire Nation attacked. AliExpress made this copy. This watch sported a Chinese movement that was a little bit older and had been proven to be pretty functional. And they also allowed you, if you so choose, to add a Swiss movement, either an ETA or the Salida. ETA or Salida. It's right there. And even with that Swiss movement, you're looking at $1,000 savings with this AliExpress version. That was pretty exciting. Yet there's always a little icky feeling. I get right here in my tum-tum, a little icky feeling whenever I try to buy a watch that's an exact copy of a brand. Unless it's Rolex, who cares? Go buy all the forgeries you want. They make it unattainable for, mediocre watches. Go buy your forgeries. But that icky feeling is exacerbated when it's a new micro brand, because I know it's got to be super hard to start out. Soon after, this watch started getting some reviews, and they were good. But some of those reviewers shared some of their conversations that they had with Serica, and this is probably the most disappointing part and worst move Serica made. Serica sadly went after the YouTubers that reviewed the AliExpress watch, and they made it so that Serica was getting paid for the revenue that these YouTubers should have been getting. And then after the threatening tone, they said, hey, leave a good review for us, we'll pay you and give you a watch. I am trying to be sympathetic towards Serica because they made this beautiful watch that everybody seemed to love, and then they get this whiplash when they send out the watch that people realize the movement isn't good. That must have been hard to hear. I can understand them being defensive. They should have been proud of the design, but you have to take the criticism when it's so valid like that. And then the copy came out, and I'm not going to use the word homage here. I don't think it's appropriate. This is a copy. These couple of events were gut punches, yet you can't condone how Serica handled it. Threats and bribery are just... why? So, what should Serica do now? I don't think they should, just close up shop. They do have two other decent looking watches. I'm especially curious about the filled watch that has 200 meters of water resistance, but they got to apologize. But in the end, I am rooting for Serica. They did make a beautiful watch, and that can be something that can go the distance. But they are going to have to apologize, maybe publicly fire somebody if somebody specifically was in charge of the bribe emails. You got to be nice to the customer. So, tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me if you think if they deserve a second chance or if they got to go for doing that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm going to do that video that I said I was going to do last time. I was actually in the middle of writing a review of a San Martin and a Seastern watch, but this happened, and it goes along with the Chinese market and how they do homages a lot, when that's appropriate, when I think it's not. So, stick around. We'll see you next time.